Hi, I'm Caleb Weber here with Braden Fickle and Anthony Silvani back with Beyond the Sidelines. Justin Tucker set an NFL record by kicking a game-winning 66-yard field goal to beat the Lions 19-17. Braden?
Yeah, it was great kick by Justin Tucker. They should have never been in this situation, though. The Ravens, definitely a better team than the Lions, but the Lions played pretty good. But Justin Tucker, that was just a great game to watch. Great closing drive to the game, and then Tucker sends it home with a 66-yarder.
Yeah, I agree. They should never been in that situation. But remember, Lamar was coming in with an illness. He was questionable all week until Friday. But I think Detroit's one of the better 0-3 teams. They shouldn't really be 0-3. They should have at least one win. And, they just got unlucky here. Justin Tucker, you never would have expected that to happen.
Next up, we had the Chiefs upset by the Chargers 30-24 to fall to 1-2 and under 500 for the first time since 2015. Anthony?
This was a shocking result, but I thought the Chargers could keep it close, maybe sneak out a win in the end, and that's exactly what they did. Brandon Staley has been a very good head coach, and I think he's going to lead the Chargers to the playoffs.
Yeah, the Chargers, they've played pretty good the last 3 games. Pretty good against the Cowboys, even though they lost, but they played the best football I've seen them play in a while. With Justin Herbert, he looks great, and to talk about the Chiefs a little bit, they looked pretty good, but they just couldn't get the drive when they needed to, just kind of keep the drive alive with Mahomes. He threw that late pick.
They were turning the ball over like crazy, and that's what killed them, really. Chargers defense stepped up. The Chiefs offense went to sleep.
Next up, Clemson plummeted from number 9 to number 25 in the college football rankings after an ugly 27-21 loss to North Carolina State. What do y'all guys think about that?
It was a great game by North Carolina State. The home crowd was getting into it, and Clemson, I haven't seen much out of their quarterback, DJ
Uiagalelei or something.
Yeah. He hasn't been very good. I expected a lot out of him at the beginning of the year, but NC State just looked really good. So.
Yeah, Clemson's been really disappointing. I predicted them earlier, week 1, that they would make the playoff, but they're not going to make the playoff. They can win the ACC championship, but they're not going to make the playoff. Their offense is just so stagnant, and they can't move the ball at all. And it was their first true road game, and they got really destroyed. They just don't look good at all.
The Braves series started yesterday with the Braves winning. Whoever wins this series will more than likely win the NL East. What do y'all guys have to say about that?
I've been watching the Braves lately. They looked pretty good, but I think the Phillies, if they win these next 2, then they're going to be tied with the Braves. But I think that the Braves, they're just an overall better team than the Phillies. They've looked better pitching and hitting wise, so I think the Braves are going to win the NL East.
Yeah, I really don't think the Phillies are going to win any of the next 2. I think the Braves are going to the Braves will win the series, but sweeping maybe not. But I really like the Braves pitching rotation. I think they're a great team. Do I think they'll make it far in playoffs? Maybe. I just don't see the Phillies winning the series, winning the NL East. It'll be close though.
Moving on to the argumentative portion of our show, should Oklahoma be worried about their poor start to the season despite being undefeated? Anthony?
I think they should. Spencer Rattler, he was the early Heisman favorite to win a Heisman, but they haven't looked all that great. They barely won against West Virginia. They held the lead for 0 seconds. They took the lead at the end of the game, and they're number 6 now in the rankings. And the Big 12, they should win it. Let's be honest. The only real threat to them is Texas. And Texas already lost to Arkansas. So they should win the Big 12, but when it comes to playoffs, I think they're going to get destroyed by Georgia, Alabama, Penn State, Oregon if they make it. I think they're not good enough to win the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think Oklahoma is good enough to make the playoffs, but if they do make the playoffs, I agree. They're not going to win a game. But I've been a little concerned with Spencer Rattler. He was good last year, but it's taken him a while to get going early. And the fans from Oklahoma, they don't want to see Rattler out there. They want to see Caleb Williams, the freshman. So they've been chanting for him. They want him on the field. They're concerned about Rattler. I'm concerned about Rattler. Are you concerned about Rattler?
Yeah, he doesn't look as good as he was in high school. It doesn't look as good as he did last year. But Oklahoma, they take a slow start to the season, but I think it's going to be poor for them the rest of the season, especially when they have to play Texas, who just put up 70 points against Texas Tech. I think Texas could honestly win the Big 12, but Oklahoma should win.
I think Oklahoma's still going to win because you look at Texas. Texas Tech, they put up 70 on them, but Texas Tech has probably the worst defense in the Big 12. Yeah. They've never had a good defense. They're an offensive team.
And Kansas still exists.
Okay, well, Kansas isn't really I don't even think they have a football team.
They do.
Yeah, they do, but they lose every game.
Sure.
No,
I think this year, though.
I think Oklahoma still wins the Big 12. I don't think Texas is very good. I've watched them play against Arkansas. I didn't like anything when I saw out of them. And then, I think Oklahoma still wins it easily.
We'll see. Their defense is what concerns me. It's all three phases, but their defense is the biggest concern. Yes, last week against Nebraska, they made that insane one-handed catch, but it was at the 2. If he just bats it down at the 25 to 30-yard line, I just think their defense isn't that great. It never has been, to be fair, but Big 12 is so bad that they always win it.
Next, we have the college football game of the week between Arkansas and Georgia. Who do y'all think is going to win?
What do you think? You go first.
I want to say Arkansas so bad. I really like Arkansas. I really like Jefferson, their quarterback. I think they're a great team. Burks, I think, is their wide receiver, and he was great against Texas A&M. And I really like this team, but Georgia's defense has been shut down all season. They played Clemson week 1, but they haven't really had a true test this season. They're going to get their first one, but I think it'll be closer than people think, but I got Georgia winning it.
Yeah, I got Georgia blowing out Arkansas, and here's my reasoning. Georgia holds Auburn to 3 points. Not Auburn, Clemson. Georgia holds Clemson to 3. Doesn't let them score a touchdown. I know they've been struggling, but it's still Clemson. And when they played against Texas A&M, Arkansas, when Arkansas played A&M, they were up 17-3 at halftime. They played pretty good, but in the second half, they kind of lost their lead a little bit. It got a little concerning, 17-10.
Well, to be fair, though, they did lose their quarterback for the most of the
They lose their quarterback, but when you're playing, when your defense is playing against, A&M had terrible offense. Zach Calzada's worst quarterback I've ever seen in college, but I just don't think Arkansas really. I think they should have blown out A&M that game, especially with who A&M had to play.
I just think this will be a close game because Arkansas, you look at their next schedule. They had A&M last week. They have Georgia this week. I think they have Auburn next week, and then another big SEC team the week after that, and then a couple weeks later they have Alabama. And they beat A&M. I think they're up for any challenge. I think they'll keep it close, but I do think Georgia wins it.
Next up, Anthony, who do you think will win NFL Coach of the Year?
For me, it's between the 2 LA coaches, and Sean McVay and Brandon Staley. But I'm gonna go with Brandon Staley. He upsets the Chiefs week 3. They're 2-1. I think they could challenge in the AFC West, considering the Chiefs are 1-2 currently, and they have a tough schedule. They still have to play. I'm not sure. They still have to play the Bills. Still have to play the Raiders, the Chargers again. I think they still have to play the Cowboys, who I think will push them close. I think the Chargers have a much easier route to winning the AFC West. But I think Brandon Staley, he came from the Rams defensive position. He was great there. I think he's going to keep them. I think he's going to win it. I think the Chargers could easily go make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I go Sean McVay here, partly because I think the Rams can win the Super Bowl. And if
the Rams are the best team in the NFL right now.
They are, but if the Rams win the Super Bowl, I think it's easy McVay. But I just like the way, he's always been a good coach. Ever since he took over, they've just been a better team. So I think he's definitely my favorite for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I could see either one of them winning it. But I think considering the past couple of years for the Chargers, before last year, they weren't really all that great. They made the playoffs one year, and they got bounced by the Patriots. But other than that, he's come in, and they have a better future now with him at the head coach position.
Sticking with the coaches in the NFL, who do y'all think will be the first head coach to be fired?
Let's see. If we're looking at the teams, most people would say it's going to be an 0-3 team for a coach that gets fired.
The only ones I don't think are Frank Reich and Frank Reich and Dan Campbell. I think they're the best 0-3 teams.
Yeah, I don't think Urban Meyer gets fired though. He just can't.
I could see it late on in the season if they're 0-15, but
yeah, if they're 0-15, you think about it. But he just got here. This is his first year with a young team too. Trevor Lawrence, he's a young quarterback, still kind of getting going. I just don't think any coaches. I think it's too early to talk about firing in the first 3 weeks of the season. But as you kind of get into the week 7, week 8, and teams are still 0-7, 0-8, then you kind of talk about it.
I think it's going to be Joe Judge. I mean, the Giants had expectations going into this year because their defense was, expected to be really good. Their offense, Daniel Jones expected to make a jump, but they really haven't. They lost to Atlanta this past week. You can't lose to Atlanta, who are arguably the worst team in the NFL, minus the Jets. We don't count the Jets, but you can't lose to Atlanta if you want a challenge in the NFC East, which we know they still can. They're 0-3, but you can't really count anyone out at this point. I think if he loses, the next 3, I think he should be gone.
Yeah, I think the Giants are one of the worst teams. They're clearly one of the worst teams in the league too. But Joe Judge is not helping them out at all, and I think he's probably gone too.
I mean, you look at the first 2 weeks. They lose to Denver at home, then they lose to Washington, heartbreaking fashion. But then they only put up 2 touchdowns against the Atlanta Falcons, who the teams before put up 36 and 48. You can't allow that for your offense.
Yeah, if you're the Giants, you've played a winnable schedule too to at least win one of those games. Yeah. Playing the Broncos, the Falcons, and who was the other team? Washington. You gotta win one of those games.
And remember, costly mistakes cost them the game against Washington. They should have easily won that game.
They should have.
Moving on to talk about some X factors in some NFL games. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. Anthony, what do you think about that?
I'm going to go cliche. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence as the X factor. He has to play well. I mean, he didn't play that bad against Arizona until they tried that flea flicker. He threw a pick 6. But I think Trevor Lawrence has to have a good game. I wouldn't say it's a very easily winnable game, but they can win. The Bengals, I think they're better than last year. They're a good team, but Jacksonville can put up points. The Bengals defense isn't all that stellar, and I think he has to have a perfect performance if they want to get their first win.
Yeah, I would agree with the Trevor Lawrence X factor, but for me, I'll take their O-line because they got to give Trevor Lawrence some time. The Bengals, they don't have great pass rush defense by any means, but Trevor Lawrence, the O-line hasn't been giving him a lot of time. That's part of the struggle. But I think if they step up, don't allow many snacks, then I think Jaguars are going to play better than they have been.
Yeah, but I still have Cincinnati winning it. Again, their defense isn't all that, but their offense is really good. And Jamar Chase, he's been outstanding so far, and I think Cincinnati wins this one.
Yeah, I agree. Cincinnati wins this one.
Next up, we have a very historic game. A lot of records could be broken. We have the Bucs versus the Patriots. Braden, what do you think about that?
I think it's going to be a good game. Sunday Night Football. Tom Brady goes to Foxborough, and Gronkowski. My X factors here, for the Bucs, I think I'm going to go with Gronkowski. And he was good. He was good the first 2 weeks. If they can get him the ball, work him into the end zone, they've won both of those games where he scored touchdowns. And they just didn't get it to him enough. He didn't score. They lost the game against the Rams. So I think he's the X factor here, going against his former team. And for the Patriots, it's just going to be their whole defense and how they can stop Tom Brady. Because the Patriots, they have a pretty good defense, but it's just how they can adjust and stop Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's going to be their secondary for me. The Patriots, if they could shut down the receivers, force them to use the run game, which didn't look all that great against the Rams, then maybe they have a chance. I have the Bucs winning it. I think it'll be close. It'll be a very electric start. The fans are going to be very much into this game. I have the Bucs winning it. We'll see how it goes. And I think if Mac Jones has to play perfect. He has to. You can't go up against this game, your primetime game, your rookie season, and don't play well. Don't throw 120 yards. Don't throw 150 yards. You have to be perfect against him. He's been really good so far, minus Saints game. Saints defense is really good compared to the first 2 teams they played. I think they can easily win this if he keeps it close, if he plays well, but I have the Bucs winning it.
Yeah, I got the Bucs winning too, but I think New England takes an early lead in this game. Maybe 10-0, something like that. And then the Bucs kind of strike their way back. Mac Jones makes some mistakes, and then the Bucs win.
We'll see. I'm not sure. Are the running backs for the Patriots healthy this week?
I think so. I think James White is.
Again, some indications from Caleb that they're not.
James White is not healthy.
No.
Can you give us an update on James White?
I just know he's hurt.
What about Damian Harris? Is he okay?
Harris is okay. I do have him on my fantasy team.
James White's hurt.
I've been getting updates on Damian Harris.
I think so. Damian Harris has to have a good rushing game then. But it's the best rush defense in the NFL.
Next up, we have the Chargers versus the Raiders. Braden?
I'm gonna take the Chargers winning the game. For my X factors, for the Chargers, I'm gonna go with their secondary against the Raiders because Derek Carr, I think he's an underrated quarterback, and he's been finding a way to win games against big teams like Baltimore. That's a great win, and he's been playing pretty good. So I think that their secondary shutting down Derek Carr is going to be the most important part of the game. And then when you look at the Raiders, I'm going to go with getting Darren Waller involved, kind of like the Gronkowski situation. He played a great week 1, putting up big numbers, 100 yards, 10 catches, a touchdown. If they can find the way to get the ball, they beat Baltimore, they could sneak out a win against Chargers.
Yeah, my X factor, I have 2 for this game. It's going to be Corey Littleton on the defensive side for the Raiders, and it's going to be Bryan Edwards on the offensive side for the Raiders. If those 2 have a good game, Littleton in the middle, covering the tight ends who isn't really that great. Jared Cook, he's not all that, but Bryan Edwards has to have a big game if they want to continue this undefeated start. He nearly had the game-winning touchdown against Baltimore. He played all right against Pittsburgh, and then last week against Miami he did all right too. But he has to be that third option. We know Ruggs, we know Renfrow are going to be the ones that he's going to go to. We know with Darren Waller, but Bryan Edwards, the defense doesn't really look at him as a big threat, so he's going to be covered by maybe the third corner. Maybe even a safety. I think he has to have a big game if they're going to win this. But I do have Justin Herbert and the Chargers winning it, going to 3-1.
Picks for Week 4 of the NFL season. We have the Panthers versus the Cowboys to start it off. Anthony?
You criticized me for this the other day, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go with the Panthers. I really like their defense. Their defense is young. They're elite. They lost J.C. Horn, but they got C.J. Henderson. I think it's really good. Jacksonville just wasn't a good fit for him. I think he's going to go in and be a good corner for them. I really like the offense, even without CMC. Chuba Hubbard's going to have a good game. So I have the Panthers winning a close one.
Yeah, these 2 teams are my favorite teams in the NFL. I've been high on the Panthers this year. They're 3-0 start. The Cowboys, they've just been electric. Dak Prescott's just been that second game against the Chargers, he wasn't all that, but home opener and season opener, he was just great. And so I think he comes out firing and the Cowboys win this one. But, I just don't think the Panthers, without Christian McCaffrey, your best player on the team. And, I definitely think that Chuba Hubbard can step up in a little role there, kind of like Mike Davis last year. But I still think the Cowboys are going to win this game by at least double digits.
Well, here's the thing. Who do you have Trayvon Diggs covering? Do you have him on Robbie Anderson? Do you have him on DJ Moore? Whichever one. He's not on. Anthony Brown's going to be on the other. And that's a huge weakness. It's a huge mismatch. DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson against Anthony Brown. It's a huge mismatch.
Yeah, for me, I'd put Trayvon Diggs on DJ Moore. Trayvon Diggs looks so good the past game. That pick 6, just jumped the route. But I don't think Brown is I don't think that's too much of a mismatch for Anderson and Brown. Anderson, they haven't really got him involved yet. He hasn't.
Yeah, he's waiting for that big game. This could be it.
I don't think it's going to be the big game. The Cowboys' defense surprised us all.
They have looked better. I'll give them that. They look better than years past.
Yeah, it's because Dan Quinn, new coordinator.
I think everyone thought when they hired Dan Quinn it was going to be the same old defense, really bad because he wasn't a good head coach, but defensive coordinator.
He's a good defensive coach too. He wasn't the best for Atlanta, being a head coach, but he's a great defensive coach for the Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys win this one.
No, I think their defense is going to, without Michael Gallup, I think the Panthers defense will kind of shut down Dak Prescott.
Yeah, but without Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson, he stepped up into a big role.
But I also think the Panthers pass rush is elite, and the Cowboys offensive line is not.
That Cowboys offensive line.
You got Brian Burns probably going up against Terrence Steele. That is a huge mismatch on the edge.
Dak Prescott's been finding a way to, just release the ball quicker and faster in 2 seconds. It's all he needs to make play. So get it to CeeDee Lamb, let CeeDee Lamb run for 20 yards. Don't think the Panthers can stop that.
We'll see. I have the Panthers winning it. I think they're going to get off to an early lead at Carolina.
Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns versus the Minnesota Vikings. Braden?
I'm going to go with the Browns here. I think most people go with the Browns, but I could see the Vikings getting a win here. But the Browns, they just look pretty good. So far, Baker Mayfield, I think he's a good quarterback. And so I think the Browns are going to win. They've been playing average defense. I think their defense steps up here against Minnesota.
Close one. This could be game of the week here. I'm going to go with Cleveland, though, in a very, very close game, a shootout. Minnesota should not be 1-2. They should be 3-0. They've lost 2 heartbreaking games, and Kirk Cousins has been playing like an MVP candidate. He has been so good, so underrated. With his wide receiver, he's got arguably one of the best wide receiver duos with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. I really like Minnesota, but I just don't know how good their defense is. They've been losing it the first 2 weeks, and I think the Cleveland offense with Odell Beckham back, I think they're just going to run all over them. But again, I do think Minnesota will run all over Cleveland's defense too.
And that's if Dalvin Cook, even if he's not healthy, Madison, played a big role in that game last week. So I think regardless of the running back situation, they're still going to run the ball a lot against Cleveland.
Next up, the Detroit Lions versus the Chicago Bears in the divisional matchup. Braden?
I'm going to go with it's a tough game. Without the quarterback situation for the Bears, we don't know what's going to happen.
If Nick Foles starts this game, Matt Nagy needs to be fired before the game starts.
I'm going to go with the Lions here. They've almost won. Like, they almost beat the Ravens, which would have been a great win for them. They played pretty good against the Packers, I think, for how the Lions are.
And they nearly came back against San Francisco, too.
And yeah, they've been pretty good. So I'm going to go with the Lions here.
I agree with you. I think the Lions are going to take this one. I think Jared Goff is so much better than people think he is. He went to Detroit and we're like, he's a bottom 5 quarterback. He's really good. And his receivers, they're still without Tyrell Williams, remember, but they've been playing really great. I do think, though, Justin Fields has his breakout game. Last week, struggled horribly. I think he gets the start this week, and I think he's going to, against a Lions defense, which is shaky, I think he's going to have a good game. But I think the Lions offense will win the game. And the Bears' offensive line is not that great. So I have the Lions winning this one. Very close, very high scoring.
Next up, we have America's team in the Houston Texans versus the Buffalo Bills. Anthony, what do you think of that one?
Bills in a blowout. They're going to blow out the Houston Texans. This is not going to be close. Caleb, I know you're a Texans fan. Josh Allen's going to throw all over him. Washington's defense is good, and he threw all over them. And the Texans without Tyrod Taylor, there's no chance. But give me Buffalo by 40.
Yeah, I don't know about 40, at least 20. But if anybody thinks that the Texans are going to win this game, I don't know what's wrong with them, because there is no way that a Texans Davis Mills at quarterback can beat Josh Allen on the Bills. There is no chance at it.
Ben Roethlisberger couldn't do it.
Davis Mills I guess he wasn't awful.
He threw 128 yards.
But he's just been, Davis Mills is not a good quarterback for the NFL.
I think he could. He could be a good
He could be,
quarterback.
but there was no time. Tyrod gets hurt week 1.
Was he a 5-star heading into college? I think he's going to be a good quarterback, but
he could be. Just it was a situation where Tyrod goes down, you just throw in Davis Mills and then see what Kenny does. So I got 20 points, Bills win easily.
I still got Bills by 40.
Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Miami Dolphins. Anthony?
Again, this is one of those that you don't know, because Indy's probably the best 0-3 team there is. They've lost 3 close games before Seattle pulled away. I'm going to go with Indy, though. I don't think Miami's all that great without Tua. They're not that great with Tua anyway. But I don't think Jacoby Brissett's at the level of Tua. And I think Indy, Carson Wentz will finally get their first win and get back on track and challenge the Titans in the AFC South.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Colts here, too, because the Dolphins, you just mentioned Jacoby Brissett. He's playing against his ex-team here, the Colts, but just don't.
Do you think a revenge game's on the cards?
I do not think a revenge game's on the cards, because I don't think Jacoby Brissett is any good. They're not the greatest of teams. They're not the greatest of teams without Tua. So adding Tua when Tua's hurt and Jacoby Brissett has to play, they don't got much. So go with the Colts here. They get their first win. The run game's going to be good. Jonathan Taylor's going to have a breakout week because he's been kind of quiet early. But I think Jonathan Taylor has a good game. Colts win. That's what I got.
Remember, Indy kind of has an easy path to get back into this. Their first 3 games were obviously probably the hardest in the NFL regular season, other than the Raiders, but they went out 3-0. But I think they should easily win this one and get back on track.
Next up, Chiefs versus the Eagles, guys.
Easy Chiefs win here. The Eagles look terrible against the Cowboys, and the Chiefs, they're 1-2, so that the Chiefs are going to win a game. They're playing the Eagles here.
Yeah, there's no way Andy Reid lets them lose 3 in a row.
Yeah, there's no chance. Chiefs by 20. Eagles, they just don't look good, so easy Chiefs.
If the Eagles win this game, we're all backtracking on this, because you never know. Jalen Hurts, to be fair, they never really had the ball. First half, the Cowboys had 19 offensive first downs compared to the Eagles had 9 offensive plays. But no, it's going to be the Chiefs. Sorry, Will, if you're watching. But it's going to be the Chiefs who win this game big. I had faith in the Eagles defense, but they let me down. And I think the Chiefs are just going to run all over them, win, get back on track.
Yeah, the Eagles, they didn't even score in the first half. Well, they didn't offensively score because...
To be fair, when they scored to make it 14-27, I think it was, I thought they were going to try and find a way to come back, but Dak Prescott just took over the game from there.
Yeah, Dak looked good, but Jalen Hurts, he didn't look too good against the Cowboys defense.
I still think he's going to be a good quarterback in the league, though.
I do. I think he looked pretty good first 2 weeks, but against Dallas in a divisional matchup in Dallas, he did not look very good. So I'd go with the Chiefs here.
Shout out to the new Cowboys shirt, by the way. Beat by the Eagles, or beat by Cowboys.
I'm going to get one of those.
You better wear it on the show.
I will.
Following that game, we have the Giants versus the Saints.
It's going to be Saints. Saints big. They went out and upset New England. I think Jameis Winston, apart from week 2, has looked great, and I think they're going to win this one against a very sorry Giants team.
I'm going to go with the Saints, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants get a win here.
I would be so
And this is my thoughts here. The Saints, they played good against the Patriots. They played good against the Green Bay Packers. Those are 2 good teams. Now, they played against the Panthers and played awful. They could see the Giants. They could go into the week being, we got the Giants, easy win, and then
no one thinks that in the NFL.
it's the Giants. They're 0-3. They're almost as bad as the Jets. If we saw a Jets-Giants matchup, which did we see that this year?
I saw that last year.
I think it was last year. If we saw the Jets-Giants matchup, I don't think anybody would watch the game unless you're a Jets or Giants fan. I'm sorry if you are a Jets or Giants
Imagine
fan.
that primetime game.
That'd be awful. But I don't think the Giants are a great team. But I think the Saints play bad this week. So I would give it to the Saints. Wouldn't be surprised if the Giants won.
No, I got Saints big.
Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans versus the New York Jets. Braden?
Titans. Anthony?
Titans big. The Jets are easily the worst team in the NFL. And I mean, you got to feel for Zach Wilson. I think he'll be a good quarterback, just not on the Jets. I think he might have a Ryan Tannehill moment where he gets traded and just go off on another team. The offensive line is horrible without Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. The Titans, it's an easy game. The Jets, they could probably... They might not.
Henry's going to have 400.
The Jets might not even win a game this year.
To be fair, they do.
And
They still play Jacksonville.
You know how we say, like most teams, most years, there's not a team that doesn't win a game. But I think the Jets could be the team this year that doesn't win.
We all thought that last year, and then they beat the Rams, the Browns. But no, I don't see it unless Mekhi Becton comes back.
Yeah,
soon.
Sam Darnold. That's why.
True. I like Zach Wilson. I think he's going to be a good quarterback.
I'm not a Zach Wilson fan.
The Jets are just so bad. And you can't discredit Robert Saleh. He is a good defensive coach, but his defense didn't look that bad against Denver. They put up some good pressure, but their offensive line looked horrible. They had nothing for them.
Next up, we have the Washington football team versus the Atlanta Falcons. Braden?
I'm gonna go with Washington here. Their defense what's gonna win them this game because they don't have the greatest of offense, but the Falcons have a pretty bad defense. So I got the football team.
Yeah, I got Washington too. I really like Taylor Heineke. I know everyone likes him, but besides all the hype, he's a really good quarterback. He can put the ball where it needs to be.
I wouldn't say really good.
He's a good quarterback.
He's a serviceable quarterback for Washington.
And he's got a good relationship with Antonio Gibson. I think they're going to get back on track and win this game.
Next up, we have the Atlanta Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals versus the Los Angeles Rams. Anthony?
I got the Rams. Like I said earlier, they're the best team in the NFL. Their defense, the best in the NFL. They shut down Tom Brady nearly had 400 yards. But they still shut down the Bucs offense. So I got the Rams winning this one in a very, very close game.
I don't know how far I would go as to say it would be very, very close, but I think the Rams are going to win 7 to 10 points.
I think it'll be a one-score game.
Maybe.
I think it'll be under 5.
Maybe, but I think the Rams won this one. They just look so good against the Bucs, coming off a little big win against Tom Brady, so I think they win.
Matt Stafford is living up to the hype, and Arizona just beat Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Barely. So.
Following that game, we have the Seahawks versus the 49ers. Anthony?
Great NFC West battles. Give me the 49ers, though. Seattle didn't look all that great against Minnesota. They had, a 17-0 lead, and they blew it. They've blown out 2 straight big score leads against Tennessee, and then last week against Minnesota, I don't think they're all that great. I think the 49ers get back on track here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Seahawks. 49ers coming off a loss to the Packers. But I think the Seahawks,
I think Trey Lance needs to start soon.
I would agree with that. But I do think Jimmy Garoppolo is serviceable. But I think that Russell Wilson against the 49ers, 49ers have a great defense, but I think Russell Wilson has a good game here. Gets Lockett back on track, bad week 3.
He hasn't been bad by any stretch. It's just their offensive line, their defense haven't been consistent.
Yeah. But I go with the Seahawks here.
Next up, we have the Ravens versus the Broncos. Braden?
I'm going to go with the Broncos getting their first loss by the
That's what you were
Ravens.
going to say, too. I knew you were going to say that.
I got the Ravens here. Lamar Jackson, just better than Teddy Bridgewater. Is the Broncos playing Teddy Bridgewater?
Yes.
I haven't even watched a single Broncos game this year because that's how boring they are to watch. So they've played the Jets.
Yeah, but they've taken care of them, right?
They've played the Giants, and they've played.
Well, you can't blame them. They didn't make the schedule.
Who's the team they played?
Who have you said? The Jets.
The Jets, the Giants, and the Jags.
Okay, but they didn't make their schedule.
The three teams I would never watch a game for, and the Broncos being the fourth. So the Broncos, of course, they're 3-0. They've played the 3 worst teams in the league. There's no chance they beat the Ravens.
Yeah, I've seen this all week. But what do you want them to do? You want them to lose the games? Want them to lose those games?
I just want the NFL to maybe make a better schedule.
The Broncos didn't make their schedule. They couldn't have asked.
Why?
For this.
How did they get the? I want the Cowboys next year to get the Jets, Jags, and Giants to start it off.
You know what? Be in the AFC then, all right? No, but yeah, I have the Ravens winning. I think it's going to be closer than people think, though. I think the Broncos defense has looked really good. Surtain's come in, and he's filled in a good role for Ronald Darby. I think they're going to keep it close. Their offense is going to keep it close, but I do have the Ravens pulling it out in the end, though.
Ending off with Aaron Rodgers versus Ben Roethlisberger in a Packers-Steelers matchup. Braden, who you got winning?
Here you got Browns and Vikings game of the week. This is my game of the week right here. Packers versus Steelers. I think the Steelers. I said earlier on the podcast I got the Packers. I might have to go with the Steelers.
No.
Now that I'm thinking, Ben Roethlisberger, I think he has a good game against this Packers team. The Packers played terrible first game. I think the Steelers played great their first game. I think they have a whole flashback to week 1. Steelers win this game.
No, see. We roll back the times with this game because this used to be the big rivalry in the NFL with these two always meeting in the Super Bowl. But now it's just, again, these two are good quarterbacks. They're Hall of Fame quarterbacks for sure. But Ben Roethlisberger isn't the same Ben Roethlisberger as 5 years ago. He's worse. I've seen some Steelers fans honestly saying for him to be benched. I don't think he will. I don't think he should be. I think he could keep them in the game, but I think the Packers are going to run away with it late. So I got the Packers.
That's all for Beyond the Sidelines this week. I'm Caleb Weber, and we'll see you next time.